Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Joe Usual, and today I want to talk to you about the lithic tadpoles, how they work, why you should use them in Act 3, and this is very, very spoilery. So I want you, if you don't want to know about Act 3, you don't want to know about the tadpoles, you shouldn't be here. You should probably click off on the video right now, but I'm hoping that you're going to stick around because I've got some very pertinent information on how to use the tadpoles properly and how they affect you and your party and the end game, what happens at the end of the game. So right now I am in my campsite. This is my previous save. I did finish the game, by the way. I finished the game. My whole playthrough is actually on my channel, so you can check that out if you'd like. So I'm in Rivington right now. This is my Rivington save right after the end of Act 2. This is the very beginning of Act 3. So at the end of Act 2, what happens is the Guardian will come to you and they will give you an astral tadpole. And you have an option to gobble it up or to open your mind to it. Now what you want to do is just open your, if you're going to use the powers, you want to just open your mind to the tadpole, okay? Don't gobble it up. If you gobble it up, then you won't have it. And if you want your other characters in your party to use the powers, you have to have it. So don't gobble it up, just open your mind to it and have each of them open their mind to it once you convince them how to do that it's a good idea. Okay. The only thing that people talk about in the game when you have opened your mind to the tadpole is the way you look. Okay. They just go, oh, well, you look like a 1,000 miles of rough road or whatever, the equivalent of that, because you have these dark veins around your eyes. Okay. So you can see the lines around your face and the dark eyes and whatever. That's what you look like. So once you've taken the tadpole, and all of your characters will look like that once they take the tadpole. So, but mind you, like I said, you don't want to do is you don't want to gobble up the tadpole. You want to open your mind to it. All right. Now, once you do, you're going to give these 5 abilities and then flight as well. Flight gives you 60 feet of movement. Okay. So anybody who is a dwarf or a gnome or a halfling, your movement was only 25. I fly everywhere I go now that I use the tadpole. Okay, this is free. These 6 are free. So you get concentrated blast, which requires concentration. You must be concentrating on another spell to cast this. If the target was concentrating, you heal as much as damage as that was dealt to it, and then you drop the concentration on that spell. Mind you. So make sure that you understand that that is a thing. You have transfuse health, which allows you to sacrifice half your remaining hit points to heal a target for the same amount. Now, one of the most popular classes in Baldur's Gate 3 is a paladin. Why is that? Because they have a healing pool. What I can do is I have 99 hit points right now. I can take half of those and give them to somebody else who's down. All of a sudden, they've got 45 hit points. I've got 45 hit points, 44 hit points, whatever. Then all I do is I use my healing pool to bring myself back up, and I'm almost full health, and they've got half health. This is a really good ability. Psionic Overload. You do 1 to 4 damage in addition to your other damage, but you also take 1 to 4 damage every turn, and this lasts for 10 turns. So you're doing an additional 10 to 40 damage over the course of 10 turns, but you're taking 1 to 4 psychic damage every turn. I think if you took a potion that gave you psychic resistance, you probably would take half damage, but I haven't tested that out, so don't quote me on that. You also get favorable beginnings. The first attack roll or ability check you make against any target gains a bonus equal to your proficiency bonus, which means if I have a +3 to hit, then I actually have a +6 to hit. You also have Force Tunnel, charge forward, pushing all objects and creatures in your path 13 feet away from you. This is an action. If you're out of movement, you can use this. If you can use your action to get another 30 feet forward. But if you don't have an additional action, it doesn't really do you any good, because then you use your action up, but you do push everything else away from you, and it can't provoke opportunity attacks because you're pushing things out of the way, farther away from you than what an opportunity attack would present itself, if that makes sense. If you're playing the game, you probably get what I'm saying. Anyway, we're going to move on. But you do have a Lithid's Persuasion, obviously. You have had this since the beginning, and you use your connection to the parasite in your brain to force entities of the Absolute to obey you. This is where when you're rolling and it says use the Tadpole or use the Illithid, and it only requires a 2 to succeed. That's what this is. You also gain, like I said, fly. of 60 feet. That's all I ever use for movement these days when it comes to it's in battle, because all of a sudden all the extra movement that you're using for, like, if you get mobile, or a monk's extra movement speed, or let's say a barbarian's extra movement speed, all that stuff, a monk will probably be able to move further than this fly, but actually it's fly. So you can actually get to a high point that you couldn't normally get to if you can't jump there. So this is really super good. And this all happens once you convince your party members to embrace the tadpole, not eat it, but open their mind to it. They get these 6 abilities for free. Now, if you're playing in Act 1 or Act 2, don't use your tadpoles. Okay, because if you use your tadpoles, you're gonna have to use them here to unlock these, and you don't want that. You want to wait till the 3rd act when you get this for free. Then you have all these extra tadpoles that you can use. Okay, so also at the end of Act 2, when he gives you the astral tadpole, it unlocks the 3rd tier. You can't unlock the 3rd tier on the outside of your brain by using tadpoles. It won't work. So be aware that you have to wait until the end of the 2nd act when the guardian comes to you and gives you the astral tadpole. That's when these abilities are unlocked. You can't unlock them before that, so don't try, because you'll waste your tadpoles. You have to go back in time. Anyway, so in the 2nd round right here, I'm going to tell you all of them, and I'm going to tell you what I like, the combinations that I prefer, things like that. So we have ability drain. Once per turn, when you make an attack roll, an attack reduces the target's corresponding ability by 1. The ability that is reduced is the same as the one you make the attack used to make the attack roll. So if you're using a melee weapon, then and you make an attack roll against someone, you lower their strength by 1, because if you use, like, let's say a warhammer, okay, that's a strength weapon. So you're lowering their strength by 1, whether you hit or not. So you're going to make them do less damage to you when they do hit you. About every 2 rounds, you're going to lower. They're going to go down by 1 to hit and go down by 1 for damage. Because if you know, on your ability scores, every 2 points that you go down 1 to hit and 1 to damage. If you're using a bow, that's a dexterity weapon. That's going to also lower their armor class, because if you're using a bow and you go to attack them and you miss, well, you're going to lower that's a dexterity weapon, and you're going to lower their dexterity by 1. Every 2 levels, their dexterity their armor class is going to go down by 1, which is going to make them easier to hit. Let's say you're trying to dominate them, or you're trying to charm them with a spell, or any number of charismatic based or wisdom based spells, whatever that ability is that you're using, whether you hit them or you miss them, you're going to lower that ability of theirs by 1. So this is an extremely powerful ability, but it's not one that I use very often, because there are more important places to put these tadpoles, in my opinion. We have Luck of the Far Realms. This is one of the more important ones, the most important one, as a matter of fact. When you make a successful attack roll against a foe, you can change that hit into a critical hit. So, first off, if you're a barbarian, or you say you have Great Weapon Master, or you have anything that lowers the die for you to hit for a critical hit, or even 2 hit, this is going to make this more effective, because what's going to happen is the more times you hit, the more times this will activate. Okay, it says you can change that hit into a critical hit. It doesn't happen every time, but when it does, it's extremely powerful, which is why it's really, really good on a paladin. Oh, by the way, before we go any further, I want to let you know that there is only one time at the end of the game. This is very spoilery, so listen up. At the very end of the game, you will be given a tadpole, which you can turn into an illithid. If you turn into an illithid with that tadpole, it's the final tadpole, and you turn into an illithid, and then you can never turn back. However, if you use these abilities, you will not turn into a tadpole, into an illithid permanently. Okay? At the end of the game, when you beat the game, the tadpoles dissolve, and you are go back to normal. Okay? This is at the very end of the game. So this does not affect anything. There is no side effects. There is no downside to using the tadpoles. There's no reason why you shouldn't. So you should be using the tadpoles, guys. It'll make your life so much easier. It's so much more fun. Just my opinion, but seriously, check it out. All right, so the next one we have Charm. Channel the dark allure of the tadpole to charm an enemy that attacks you, preventing them from attacking you until their next turn. Now that's attacking you. That's not attacking your other people in your party. Okay, they just won't attack you until their next turn. So it is a very powerful thing. It happens all the time. It works really well. And if everybody has this, then everybody's charming everybody else. But that just means that whoever is charmed against you, they won't attack you. They'll attack somebody else. Okay. By the way, this is a passive thing, so you don't have to actively use it. So displace. Creature suffering fall damage because of your actions take an additional 1d8 psychic damage. If you push them off a cliff, if you're a warlock and you have repelling blast and you knock them off of a surface, they take an additional 1d8 psychic damage. It's not great. It's not great, but black hole is great. And you need to do this middle one to get to the outer one. So be aware of that. So anyway, Repulsor, it does 2 to 12 damage. And it is an action. It goes 20 feet forward. And you push anything and anyone back 20 feet. Anyway, it's a strength save. And even if they do save against it and are not pushed back, they'd still take 1 to 6 damage. And so it will be 1d6 force damage. But it'd be 2d6 halved. So it rolls 2d6. So they're going to take 2 damage minimum because they roll 2d6, and the lowest they can get is 2. Anyway, so next one is Cull the Weak. I never saw this one do very much for me, but it should do a lot, and hopefully they'll fix that in the patch. When you bring a creature down to fewer hit points than the number of evolved illithid powers of your evolved illithid powers, it dies, and all nearby creatures take 1 to 4 psychic damage. So let's say you have a intellect devourer, okay, and it has, say, 22 hit points. They have 22 hit points, and you have 21 of these powers that are cultivated, that are evolved, and you do 1 point of damage to it. Not only will it kill it because it has less than you have powers evolved, but everything around it will do 1 to 4 psychic damage to them all the way around it. And you know how they like to pack up. So, or a rat. Let's say a pack of rats. That's even better. You kill one rat, and all of a sudden, all the nearby rats take 1 to 4 psychic damage. Now, is that cumulative? Will it kill the entire pack? I don't think so. I think it's just one creature around the creature that you've killed. So you would kill, say, half a dozen rats with 1 hit instead of 1. Psionic Backlash. When an enemy within 30 feet casts a spell, you can use your reaction to inflict 1d4 psychic damage to the caster per the spell's level. This is super important for your whole party to have because each one of you is going to be doing this to the caster. I've killed caster after caster after caster just from them casting one spell on us. And if one of us can nullify the spell, if we can counterspell it, then not only is it not casting, he's not casting the spell, but he's still taking the psionic backlash, and you can kill a caster quick with this. So all of your party needs to have this. Shield of Thralls. I never use it. I used it once in my entire playthrough. Conjure a volatile shield around yourself or an ally, granting the target 10 temporary hit points. It's not great, but it's 10 temporary hit points. If you don't have any other temporary hit points and you need it, sure, why not? You can use it as an action, but it's an action. You got better uses for your actions than Shield of Thralls, in my opinion. Perilous Stakes. Invest a creature with power that heals when it attacks, but also makes it vulnerable to all damage. I never used this, but I should have. Because what happens is, all right, so let's say there is a dragon. Let's just use a dragon, and it has 300 hit points. All right, well, we know that the dragon is invulnerable to, or no, it's resistant to fire damage, okay? So we hit it with this in the first round, and it will heal for 3 turns. It'll heal 2 to 16 healing, 2d8 every turn. However, now it's vulnerable to all damage, including fire damage, which means it takes double damage, which means you can hit it with fireball, you can hit it with any number of fire attacks, and it'll do double damage. So even though it is healing 2 to 16 damage per round for 3 rounds, it's still vulnerable to all damage for 3 rounds. For a lot of bosses, a lot of mini bosses, this is super powerful. I didn't use it nearly as much as I should have, but you should definitely use it. And then we have Stage Fright. Stage Fright's really good. This is a for 3 rounds. Your targets gain disadvantage on attack rolls, and they take 2 to 12 psychic damage each time they miss. It lasts for 3 turns. They will overcome the Stage Fright if they succeed on an attack roll, but they have disadvantage on their attack rolls, and they're taking damage at the same time. Like I said, it lasts for 3 turns. You get it back on a short rest. A lot of these you get back on a short rest. The outer, once you're in the third act, you're going to have access to the outer abilities. And like I said, you shouldn't even be using this until the third act, because if you're wasting tadpoles on the middle here, you're wasting tadpoles, and you need those for the rest of your party. So don't even bother with this until the third act. On the outer circle, you have Fractured Psyche. Invade a target's mind and disrupt its defenses. The target's armor class is reduced by 1 for 5 turns. But you know what? That's not that great, so I wouldn't use it. The Illithid Expertise, you have deepened your sense of self and gained expert in persuasion, deception, and intimidation checks. Not only is this the best ability that you can get, you're going to need this before you start trying to convince the rest of your party for them to use tadpoles. If you don't start doing that until you get this, get Illithid Expertise, which means you're going to need to get Luck of the Far Realms, which I already said is a good thing. So you're going to want to take Luck of the Far Realms. And as you can see, that opened this up. Now you can go ahead and you can take Illithid Expertise. You definitely want that. Also, this unlocked Fractured Psyche over here. So you don't necessarily have to take the one that's before it. You might be able to take the one that's adjacent to it, although it didn't unlock this one. But it did unlock Fractured Psyche, and you don't have to take Ability Drain. So there's a possibility that you're going to be able to unlock the one that's next to something on the outer ring without having to take the middle ring. So take the good ones, and then take the other ones that you might or might not want. Anyway, this is extremely good because you get expertise in persuasion, deception, and intimidation checks, which means that is a +4 added to your roll. Okay, on top of whatever else you have. It's an additional D4 added to your roll. It's really good. Psionic Dominance. When an enemy within 60 feet targets your spell of a level that is lower than or equal to your proficiency bonus, you can use your reaction to nullify the spell. Highly recommend this one. It is counterspell. It works really well. I use it all the time. And I needed it on more of my characters. I had it. My other characters didn't have it because I ran out of tadpoles. By the way, I will be making a video. I'm in the middle of making a video on where to find all of the tadpoles, every last one. Here I'm working on it right now, but I have to go through the entire game again, so it's going to take me a minute to get that to you, but I will get it to you. Parts 1 and 2 are easy. The third act is a little bit more difficult. I need to get through parts 1 and 2 so that I can get to part 3 and get all of the tadpoles. So Psionic Dominance, like I said, really good ability. Highly recommend it, but you're going to have to see if we go Displace. I wouldn't even worry about Displace. I would do Charm, because you want Charm, and then Psionic Dominance. I highly recommend that. Okay, so then you have Black Hole, and so I didn't take Displace, but by doing Psionic Dominance, I unlock Black Hole. Create a powerful a point of intense gravity that pulls in all nearby enemies and possibly slows them. I highly recommend this for more than one character. You only get this once per short rest. But if you can use it more than once, you can pull in multiple enemies from a group in a boss fight and get them all in to the middle of, so you can knock them down with Hunger of Hadar or Insect Swarm or Plague Swarm, Insect Plague, or any number of lockdown spells that you have that are high level. You're going to want Black Hole so you can get as many enemies as possible into a small amount of an area. And if you use 2 Black Holes within the first round of combat, you can get them all in and lock them down so you can make short work of them. It's a super, super good ability. Highly recommended. Okay. Then we have Mind Blast. Spew forth a conical wave of psychic energy and possibly stun targets within. So I don't normally use this. I didn't use it a lot, but it does 6 to 34 points of damage. If you run out of spells for whatever reason at this level, level 12, you probably shouldn't, or level 10, level 11, level 12, you probably shouldn't be running out of spells, especially with all those all the long rests that you have. You probably shouldn't be running out of spells. By the way, this is fly. We already covered that. So yeah, I mean, I didn't use it. I mean, but you unlock it. So, I mean, if you want to take it, take it. So over here we have Mind Sanctuary. This is absolutely 100% one that you want. So Psionic Backlash is not great, but you want Mind Sanctuary. It allows bonus actions and actions to be used interchangeably. What this does is it creates a bubble that's 30 feet across. So it's 15 feet from you in all directions. And it lasts for 3 turns. But it allows anybody within that bubble to use bonus actions and actions interchangeably. That means you cast it, and then anybody in your party that's in there, bonus actions and actions work together. So, highly recommended. However, I'm going to wait on this to see because you want free cast. Okay? Your spell slot charges and similar resource costs for yourself or your next action or spell are removed. Refreshes on a short or long rest. So this is a passive feature. So the very first spell slot charge or similar resource cost that you use, the very first one doesn't cost. It doesn't use a spell slot. If you have an ability from a magic item, that charge, it doesn't use that charge. Anything like that doesn't count. So if we go here and take Shield of Thralls, okay, so if you want Mind Sanctuary, you're gonna have to take Psionic Backlash. Okay, so you want that. Actually, you know what? You can do without free cast. Free cast is nice to have. You could do without it, so you could save yourself a tadpole. So mind you want to save enough tadpoles for the rest of your party. Okay. Over here we have Absorb Intellect. You gobble up a foe's intellect, lowering their intelligence by 1 per turn and healing your wounds for 5 turns. This is fine, but it's not amazing. You're getting between 5 to 40 healing over the course of 5 turns, and you're lowering their intelligence by 1 per turn. So if you do this on a magic user, you're gonna lower their intelligence by 1, and it's gonna make it harder for them to affect you with their spells. But really, with all the other stuff you've got going on, I would say you could do without this. And we have, last but not least, we have Displacer Beast Shape. Transform into a Displacer Beast that can displace itself and enemies and has 85 hit points. That's fine, but if you want to do something like this, you may as well freaking be a druid. I'm serious. You may as well be a druid. It's cool because you can turn into a Displacer, but you know what? I mean, if you're not a druid, fine, I guess, but I don't recommend it. It's just not that great. I mean, really, seriously, just give yourself a couple levels in Druid and get yourself your beast shape. Do that, turn into a polar bear, call it a day. Sure, it's got 85 hit points. But if you can't, at level 10, 11, 12, hold your own in battle, then with all of these other abilities that are in your head, then sure. I mean, if you want to solo the game, maybe get them all. But here's the thing. At the end, because you want to save enough tadpoles to affect all of your other 3 party members that you're going to use at the end game battle. Okay? You want them to have illithid expertise to get through these well, maybe not. Actually, no, you don't need them to. If you take the initiative in the roles for conversation, you're the only one that needs illithid expertise. But Psionic Dominance, you definitely want it. Black Hole, definitely helpful for at least one more of your characters. Let's see, Mind Sanctuary, you want at least one more person or 2 more people, because it takes a long rest to get this back, and you have 2 short rests before you're actually going to probably take a long rest. Or you might be taking long rest between battles, and that's fine. If you do, only one of you needs Mind Sanctuary. But it only lasts for 3 turns. If a battle lasts longer than 3 turns and you want to have this interchangeable bonus action thing happening, get one more person at least to get Mind Sanctuary. Since you want Psionic Dominance, you may as well get Charm on all of your characters, because you want all of your characters to have Psionic Dominance, and you want all of your characters to have Psionic Backlash, 100%. As far as what I would say, you want everybody to have Psionic Dominance, Psionic Backlash, Mind Sanctuary, Black Hole. Those are the ones, in my opinion, the top 4. Well, Luck of the Far Realms and look at the far realms. Those are the top 5. So if I had to give a top 5, I would say, like I said, look at the far realms, psionic dominance, black hole, psionic backlash, mind sanctuary, because you automatically get fly in these 5 anyway, so that doesn't count in my top 5. These 2, and then charm and psionic dominance, so that's 4. This is 5, 6, 7. So, and right now I would have had, if I didn't do the other ones, I would have had 13, maybe 14. So 2 of my characters could have had everything that I told you here. So 3/4 of my party could have had that. And then with I don't even have the tadpoles from Act 3 here yet. When I do, then we would have access to enough for the 4th party member to have almost everything as well. Because I believe there are enough to where you could do that plus some. There's supposed to be a half a dozen tadpoles in Act 3 on a ship. I don't know if that's true. Like I said, I'm going to make that video. But like I said, there at the end of the game, when you beat the final boss, okay? If you don't know, it's an elder brain. When you kill the elder brain, all the tadpoles dissolve and everybody goes back to normal. So unless you turn yourself into an illithid at the end with the final tadpole, your character goes back to normal. So if that's that important to you at the end, then just don't take that final tadpole. You don't have to, but when you do take that final tadpole, it gives you all of the abilities. So what I would do is I would give it to a character, because you can give it to any character, and they become an illithid, and they have all the abilities at once. So what I would do is I would save that final tadpole for the final boss for the one person who has the fewest tadpoles, so that they could go ahead and have all the abilities, and then everybody's got everything you want for the final battle. Well, it's for the final set of battles. It's for the final battle, the whole like lead up to the final battle as well as the final battle. So we're talking about like probably 4 or 5 different battles. Maybe 3 battles. Hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully this made you happy about illithid powers, because it really made me happy about illithid powers. They might put a downside in this next patch, but I doubt it. This is how they built it. I think this was intentional. I don't think that this is a aberration of any kind, except for the fact that you have a bunch of tadpoles in your head, riddling in your brain. But yeah, anyway, guys, at the end of the game, they all dissolve. Everybody goes back to normal. Everybody's happy unless you take that last tadpole and you turn into an illithid yourself. As it is right now, you're only half illithid, and you go back to normal at the end of the game. All right, guys. Well, I've repeated myself enough. I think I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for coming in. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. As I always say, I am my usual me, be your usual you, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.